Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we're live.
We are.
Takeaways. Always takeaways.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy the conversation with Arman? Brand new black belt.
He had a lot to say, which was great. And I enjoyed it very much. There was a lot I took away from it. We were trying to decide what we were going to talk about here. And we had different ideas. But then, I think once we started sharing with each other, we decided we knew what we were going to talk about. And that is sharing and also building bridges by sharing, bringing people together. We talked a lot about old school, new school, Jiu Jitsu, and the dichotomy there. And, he's somebody that, for people who, if you haven't listened yet, trains with two very, very different schools out in California. Something that you wouldn't think would be acceptable. It's definitely not the norm. And he's able to do that, I think, because of who he is, and because he's sharing things to make people and himself better rather than telling secrets, right? There's still some of that aspect in jiu-jitsu. And so I took away sharing and building bridges.
Yeah, and I think that was the big message for me, right? Forming bridges, not building walls.
Right.
And if you listen to the whole story from a higher level, you'll hear this theme all throughout his entire journey, from the very beginning to the very end. And you mentioned he trains with Eddie Bravo and Henry Gracie, two very, very different academies with two very, very different cultures. He talks about the differences. He talks about how what it feels like to be inside each of them. But then he connects the bridges, right? And he builds the bridge. He forms the bridge between both of them. He talks about actually how he created a relationship between Henner and Eddie on a business aspect. And, I think about this conversation we had with Arman, there's not a lot of people like him. I think there's a lot of people who have good intentions, but not a lot of people go outside of their outside of the comfort zone to achieve the things that he has done. And a lot of people probably don't even know who Arman is. He just received his black belt. What a skilled individual from a jiu-jitsu perspective. But the things that I learned from him today the most is it's not about him. It's about building the leaders, helping people connect and allow them to continue training jiu-jitsu. It's not about where you train, it's the fact that you train, period. Mm-hmm. Whether there are obstacles, life throws curveballs at you, he is trying to figure out how to help people. And he shares several examples through the conversation, how he connected people that typically would not even, probably they would not cross those paths on their own. And he went out of his way to connect them and make those relationships, because ultimately that's what makes the community. That's what makes the jiu-jitsu community. And we often talk about the jiu-jitsu community, but sometimes we forget the work that we have to do to really make that community what it is today.
Yeah. We talked about 30, 40 years ago, how schools, I think, just to survive had to be completely separate. God forbid you cross train, you're going to steal secrets, but that was because it was so based on competition back then, right? Now you have competition over commerce here in this country. So you don't want to poach students. You don't want to show them. I think you were the one that said maybe the grass is greener on the other side at the other academy. You don't want to do any of that. But you can go, I can train here and I can go to another school and, pick something up and add it to my game. And in the process, if I am being honest about it, if I'm being upfront about it, having a good person go from one school to another, back and forth, is going to bring those two schools together, right? And we can, because of the age we live in now, we can build those bridges, make those bonds, and we don't have to be adversarial. You know, you can go 30 miles down the road and train on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on Mondays and Wednesdays train closer to home, and everybody's going to come out the better for it.
Yeah, and it's not easy. Let's just highlight this out there. We can't be naive about this, right?
No.
From a business perspective, nobody wants to lose clients.
And a personality perspective.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, from an instructor perspective, nobody wants to lose students. You know, but at the same time, we do have to recognize the fact that our students are paying for the service. And, you know, if there's other opportunities that they can benefit from this and they can get better, in my eyes at least, that just makes me better. That makes my academy better, because more skill my students have, more they will bring it back home and more others will benefit from them. And who knows, maybe one day that student actually will become a black belt, and maybe they will become a leader. Maybe they will become an instructor, and then how much more knowledgeable they would be if they train, they cross-trained, right?
Yeah, and you know, he said when he first started doing it, you know, he had the conversations with his instructors, and it just Redzovic. He said he became more loyal when he was given permission to go someplace else. That, you know, he wasn't kept on a leash, and it's like, yeah, just, you know, go learn what you can, bring it back if that's okay, you know, if you know, and he said he didn't keep him on a leash. And because of that, he was able to expand his knowledge. And now he's sharing that with everyone. And, you know, he shared it here recently. He shared it with us on the podcast. And he's going to continue to do that. And by sharing all that, he's building these bridges between all these different affiliations and schools and training partners. And it's just going to make everybody make a tighter knit community for us all.
Yeah, and I think if we're honest with ourselves and with people who are involved, a very simple communication or very simple conversation and open communication really could take us far. You just don't know what the other person is thinking, even though they might be your instructor, you know, even though there might be somebody you look up to, you know, but maybe a simple conversation of, hey, listen, I'm looking, how can I achieve this? I don't want to disrespect anybody, or I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want to make anybody upset, but this is what I'm looking for. Can you help me? And I think seeking that help really, really will take us far and open the doors for different opportunities and create new friendships. And if along the way we get better skill set wise from jiu-jitsu perspective, and then we become a better person, then why not? That's a very different approach than doing something behind somebody's back, sneaking around and being hush-hush about it. And you know, let's not, hopefully he won't find out or she won't find out. And there's a very, very different approach about this. And that's not necessarily what Arman was doing. He was very upfront about this. He was very open about what his goal was. And it was simple: to get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. He had no ulterior motives. And that is self-evident because you're being open. There's nothing worse than keeping secrets, because as soon as you plant a seed in someone's head that you're doing something for you know, negative reasons, and then that line of communication is gone, right? It's probably going to get cut off right away. And then there goes the sharing. There goes the building of bridges. You're going to put up a wall. You're not going to want to talk to that person. You're not going to trust that person, right? If he out of fear, if he didn't talk to anybody about it, he just went and did it, people would have a different perspective about him, whether that it's true or not, right? He would have been sneaky, and he wasn't. And you know, he was open, honest, asked. You know, I think he says during the podcast, he was like, just ask, man. You know, if you ask, they're probably going to let you do it.
And there's one aspect of all of this that we didn't even touch on, is the fact that the other person assumes. As humans, we assume things. We create stories inside our heads And if we don't have a full picture painted in front of us, we'll fill those gaps with something that our mind is taking us into. And not only that's from student perspective, but also from the instructor perspective. We are humans. We have to acknowledge that fact, right? If there is an instructor who hears and sees bits and pieces of information, and that communication doesn't take place, they might start assuming, and this just leads into a bad situation. Open communication, be approachable, be willing to approach, be willing to ask for help, ask questions. And I really, truly believe that at least you will know where you are and what's in front of you. From there, you can make decisions that are the best for you, because ultimately that's why we are here, right? We're getting on that mat to get better at jiu-jitsu, to become a better person, be a better dad, be a better husband, be a better brother, sister, coworker, manager, boss, whatever that is. We always trying to get better.
I am. I don't know how well it's working out, but I'm trying.
Well, I think you're doing just fine. I think you're doing just fine, right? What do they say? 1% increments.
There you go.
A huge difference.
Just like my jiu-jitsu, 1% increments.
1% increments.
Yeah, and he said something that kind of hit home for me. And this is a little off topic, but we can work it in. Is when he was talking about Henner and Eddie's leadership styles, right? They're completely different, but they're obviously giving people the freedom to move back and forth, to find out what works for them, and they can at that point start sharing the knowledge that they gain from both places with everybody around them, and then everybody, both camps, both schools are picking things up. It's going to bring them closer together. Maybe that guy's not so bad. Maybe I was wrong about the way he thinks. And you can start picking out nuggets from the other side that you can bring into your own life and hopefully grow from it, make yourself a better person.
And you nailed it right there. Being a leader is not telling people what to do. Is really understanding what they need and what they want and guiding them so they can achieve those goals. And sometimes in a leadership position, that actually could go against what you think. And acknowledging the fact that you might have not been right, or this is not exactly how you envision this, but you're being agile enough to help people to become better versions of themselves as time goes on, is a huge sign of leadership.
Yeah,
Forming
I think that
bridges, now we're building walls, right?
Right. And I think that as a leader, to be able to share, when you can admit that you don't have all the answers, and you can let somebody go out there and experience something different, I think that's great, and says a lot about your leadership skills.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
It's funny, when we started talking about the takeaway, you had leadership, leaders, I had sharing, and we thought we were going to just talk about sharing and building bridges, but it's all, yeah, right. We bridged exactly those two topics. And I think they come together nicely. And we have, today, at least we have Arman to thank for that.
If you didn't listen to that full episode, make sure you dig into that. What a great story. What a great life story with lots of little lessons in there. If you don't know who Arman is, look him up. Tell him hello, say hello to him, tell him good job and congratulations on the brand new black belt he received this week.
Yep, just a week away.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Gary. As always, it was fun.
It was, as always. All right, sir. Peace, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.